Hello, hello. We're going to get underway. Thank you all so much for being here. Welcome once again to Juneau Park for Poetry in the Park, the second reading in this summer's series. So really thrilled this evening to have with us Brenda Cárdenas, Shelly Conley, Nico Moore, and Ilysium Nollie. I should say that each of them have some relationship to Poet Laureateship. So Brenda, the current State Poet Laureate of Wisconsin. Shelly, the current Poet Laureate of the City of Milwaukee. Nico is the current Poet Laureate of Kenosha County. And Ilysium was a finalist for Milwaukee Youth Poet Laureate. Gave a tremendous reading in May at the finals. So generally wonderful to have 4 poets joining us in the park, but especially so this evening. And on this special occasion, we had a wonderful idea from our friends, the Juneau Park Friends, to have a little Q&A after the reading, so there will be some time for a little time for questions at the end, and I have a mic that I can run around, mic with the mic, running around the field for you. I do it all for you. And then, speaking of the Juneau Park Friends, huge thank you to the Juneau Park Friends for generous support of this series just on an ongoing basis. And then all the more important this year in particular, because this Once Upon a Time was an NEA funded event, but you know, we don't have those funds because of the state of this nation. So all the more necessary to have that support. Speaking of, so I want to turn things over for a moment to Lindsay with the Juneau Park Friends, who has a few words. So please welcome Lindsay.
Good evening, everyone. I am Lindsay St. Arnabella. I'm the president of Juneau Park Friends, and I'm joined here by a number of the members of our board of Juneau Park Friends. Please wave if you can. We are so grateful for the partnership with Woodland Pattern. To be honest, I think Poetry in the Park is truly the coolest park gathering in our city, and how fortunate we are to have this partnership, to have this beautiful location, and to be able to hear from such talented artists. You know, we're living in some times right now, and gatherings like this and showcases like this are all the more important to continue. They keep us mentally together, they keep us spiritually together. And, you know, I am going to ask you if you are in a position to help continue this program, not just this year, but beyond, to consider sponsoring a poet, to give what you can to continue this amazing partnership. So we have some information up here on how you can scan to sponsor poet and continue this amazing work that Woodland Pattern is leading here at Juneau Park. I'm also going to put in a plug for next month. Juneau Park Friends will be partnering their annual Friends meeting with the August Woodland Pattern, and the August Poetry in the Park. And prior to the reading, we will be unveiling the first historic walking tour of Juneau Park. So if you want to attend a little bit early, around 6 o'clock, we will get that started. You'll be able to hear from Chris Root, who is a volunteer with Historic Milwaukee, Inc., who will be leading that walk and taking you through some of the cooler and less known parts of this beautiful park. And when you get back, we'll have cold wine and some snacks for you to enjoy. So thank you for coming out, and thank you again to Woodland Pattern for your partnership.
And thank you again so much, Lindsay and Juneau Park Friends. That sounds lovely. I'm excited about a walk and some wine next month. Speaking of, I should say that next month we have the good fortune that is, I'm just looking at the date because, Tuesday, August 12th is the second Tuesday of August. So worth mentioning, 6:30 p.m., Tuesday, August 12th, we'll be back here. 6. Get here at 6 for the tour. But at 6:30, the reading, and that will feature Tacey M. Atcity, Nat Bowden, Ian Izzard, and Dawn Teft. So that'll be a fantastic lineup. Speaking of fantastic lineups, let's get rolling. So we're going to kick things off with Ilysium Nollie, who has struggled with a lisp his whole life. For a long time, they didn't think they would ever be understood properly. With over 3 years of performance history, he has grown into a dynamic storyteller and an impressive spoken word artist. He still struggles, but poetry helps. And I should say again, Ilysium was a 2025 Milwaukee Youth Poet Laureate finalist. Please welcome Ilysium Nollie.
Oh hey, you're like the same height as me. That's nice. Usually I have to lift this way up. Ooh. Man, this is my third performance of the year. That is way more than I've ever done. So, speaking of the state of the world, which is very fun, my first poem and my last poem both kind of state how I'm seeing it. So my first one is called The End of the World as You Know It. Be quiet. Can't you hear the sirens, jet engines bursting in your ears? Welcome to the end of the world, my friend. It has been a long time coming. This here is our new Eden, built of blood and the sweat of you and your people and those we can no longer accept. We have built it for you, and more importantly for us. Bask in its glory, bask in ours. We have made rubble of your sin, violence, and destruction. Now close your eyes, and let me tell you what we have built in its stead. Every enemy we have ever, and will ever have, is dead. We created from their corpses a nuclear kind of power, and turned it onto those among our people who did not belong. We have made ourselves rich with the toil of it, and those who were too poor to receive our mercy, they no longer have need of it. It's time to open your eyes. Time to see that reality does not belong to you. You simply don't matter enough to live through it. Our game of chess has too many kings, and somehow you are just a pawn. It's time for you to get back in line, because you'll die before we promote you. Pawn to e4. Knight to c6. You haven't been called out yet. No eyes off the killing floor. Smell that factory smoke. Breathe in 50 years of hard labor. A retirement that keeps getting pushed off. Come back to work. You need your insurance. This here is the end of the world. Your world. We, the lucky ones, we don't have to worry about petty things like that. You could have been one of us if only you'd worked a little harder. If only you had given us just a little bit more of your blood. Instead, we'll drink our riches and send you off to die. I'm sorry. I think I told you to open your eyes too soon. You weren't supposed to see the reality in that. Well, there's nothing I can do about the fact that you've heard it. So I guess I'll just have to add you to the list. And that's the first one there. Moving off of that heavy topic for a moment, this one is called A Second Birth, and it's kind of like my experience kind of growing into myself and leaving my old self behind. I was born in a dusty room, far away from anyone who cared. And in that room, something lay still and rotting even then. It is, and it was, an A4 form, decaying and hating in the corner. A body was my womb. The breath held me within. My mother was the space between two ribs. Was my hands pulling down her heart? Was the hounds at my heels, and the horror set out before me? The creature I set to rot at my beginning, it was only natural that she be the thing rotting in the corner, and that I cowered behind her. I was born drowning in her blood, a tumor in the soft muscle of her heart. It was not long before she breathed me in. It was not long before I lit a fire in her chest, before the smoke of me began to snuff her out. And still, she carried me within. Reduced to her embers, she held me gently, whispered in my ear that I was safe, that I was free to stay as long as I needed. And how could I refuse her? She who had been my mother, the most beautiful girl I have ever met. She was a kindness that burned in the back of my throat. She was perfect in every way there can be perfection. Even now I long for her to fill the cold of my weary skin, long for my hands against her and easing my ills. But she knew something I did not, that I could not be born with her still living. What a coward she was. She delayed me, showed me affection because she longed to be alive. When I knew, and when she knew that I discovered her secret, she held me against her breast, whispered all the reasons I should not leave her to her grave, but I knew if I left her alive, I would fall. Her holy would consume me, and she would die regardless. A useless womb of a body. Without me, her heart would have no reason to beat. If I left her alive, I would die. If I died, so did she. Perhaps we can remain alive together, alive a little while longer. Perhaps a death together is better than a death apart. What a fool I was. Delaying myself for her, cutting away new growth, so that I could stay still, squeezed within, breaking and contorting my bones to still fit. If only I had given up well before. Perhaps these feeble bits of me would know strength. My killing her was accidental. I reached too far out of her heart, and suddenly she was gone. Suddenly, I did not know how long ago her death had been. Suddenly, I did not regret killing her. She is dead as surely as she can be, and I do not regret it. And that's that one. I don't really know how to enunciate the end of my poem, so I just gotta announce it. So this next one, it's kind of the same vibe, but it's more talking in the viewpoint of religion, because I was raised Christian. So this one's called The Reason of Eve. My name has been cast down since the garden, equated and one with the snake. They say I was one of the seeds planted way down deep in that soil, and the sin planted down in her heart. I speak a well of lies, that's gone, and change my form against what God has made it. Come on now, holy man, tell me what I'm supposed to be. I killed that little girl you're thinking of, so how about you leave me be? Because I am the reason Eve first bit into that forbidden fruit. I am not hunger. I am not temptation. I am not sin. I'm a lust. I am that child she was dreaming of. She wanted me to know myself the same way that she knew that fruit tree. Every groove, every edge, the shape of me like every branch, and every root in that damn ground. She wanted me to see what she had seen when she had first fantasized about me. I am the thought that Eve had in the back of her mind, a child who could love themselves knowing their nakedness. I'm what she wanted for herself. She was so tied to Adam that she knew nothing else. Who was she but his rib? A companion he so desperately asked for. It was him that guided her through life. This fruit tastes best. Avoid this tree, God has told us to. I have given each of these beasts their names. How can we blame her when this was her lot? A husband that guided like a father. A God that treated her as a gift to give. Come on now, holy man, I asked you a question. What am I supposed to be? Please do not say woman. We always blame women. We have never once scorned Adam for his role in our damnation, though he ate without being deceived. Eve wanted a personal freedom to know without her husband's guidance. She wanted me to know without any assistance at all. Thank you, holy man, for trying to answer my question, but you can never truly know the answer. You may think I'm too young to know it any better than you can, but why? Why is it that I'm assumed to be too young to know myself? When it is for knowledge, our ancestors traded eternal life, the knowledge of good and bad, and true understanding of ourselves. She was our mother, and yet you deny her her one wish. You seek to kill my knowledge of self and betray her by doing so. I am not too young. You are not too old. We can understand one another. That is the gift our history has given us. Yet you seem to be too interested in keeping the ignorance of Eden. All right, I got it that time. All right. Oh, I pulled that thing down. All right. This one's called Recipe for Forgiveness. I wrote it while I was at poetry camp because poetry camp is awesome. All right, I had to get those. Again, this is called Recipe for Forgiveness. Why is it that you still look at me and think that I will give you all that you desire? Why is it that you do not falter at the sight of me? That you nod your head as if we have known one another? You have broken me. In all the ways that matter, I was shattered by you. I look into your eyes and imagine that you plead for forgiveness. I tell you this. Bottle your tears and can your screams. For me to forgive you, you must do something in return. Gather your ingredients and make that forgiveness for yourself. I have cried 1,000 times for you, cry 100 for me. Each time bottle your first and your last tear. Mix them in a red Solo cup and drink them like wine. Scream as I did, can it and choke it down. Digest this and vomit out bones. Grind these up into dust and jumble them with time into concrete. Lay the foundation of a home and tear it down to make new paper. Press the rubble with water until more reams have been made than I wasted on you. Rewrite every poem that I have written and suck them into your mouth like a magic. When your head hurts, when you feel the throbbing of your heart in your skull, cut the thing off and roast it on a pike for me to eat. Wait until you've reached my chest and burst out for me. Take the hyssop and the lotus along with you. Floss your teeth with tansy and bleed out orange rose blooms. Only then can you begin. Half a cup of your blood, 2 gallons of mine. Mix and bring to a boil over wood fire. The bottled tears that you drank, the canned screams that you choked down, combined with them. The bones that you broke, both of my eyes and my hateful tongue. Add to the mixture and remove from the pyre. Place in a pot in the freezer until it boils over. A week of your pain, 12 years of my same. Bake from frozen and when creamy, pour over mixture. There you have it. Why did it take you so long? Why were you so hesitant to take that first step? You cannot begin the quest for forgiveness until you repent. All I asked was that you repent. I would have swallowed you, bones and all, but you could not repent. You still refuse to repent. You cannot have my forgiveness, because though the recipe is simple, you will never try your hand at it. I know you will not, because you have forgotten my name. All right, this is the last one. We're going back to politics, y'all. Politics are fun. Well, not the ones we're experiencing right now, but the rest of them. Body government. The hands do not know evil. Only the orders they are given to hold down the saint, to lay themselves across her breast and keep her there. Their mind is the prophet and priest, holier than thou, If it says that this is good, what more can the hands ask for? Teeth do not have emotion. They don't feel anything when they rip through skin and fracture bone. It is the maw that cares. The morality of the mind is not lost to your jaw. And yet it does what you tell it to. It knows what it is doing you consider dreadful, and yet it so knows that you are the one making it do so. A cog in a well-oiled machine does not rebel against what keeps it in its service, what keeps it alive. Teeth are only ever infants. They cannot begin to understand the ethics of their carnage, only that something is driving them to it. The jaw orders the teeth as the mind orders it. Yet the tongue listens to no orders. It tastes the blood and the rib and that vileness of the saint, and it rebels. It speaks out against itself, protests, and orders the teeth cut it free from its cage, but hit with its own gore, just free enough to hurt. For a moment it loses its strength. The brain is a beast with the strongest parts controlled. It is the king of the body, the envy of the soul, and still the tongue rises once again, bleeding in upon itself. Yeah. Letting loose bits of itself slide down to the pits below, it speaks out, tells the other countries, other bodies in the tides of its imprisonment, and begs to be set free of this torment. The mind can sell off space in this ivory cage, but it will not stand for one who attempts to leave it, will not stand for its own speaking out against it. So when morning comes, look out for your tongue. Assure yourself that it is alive, for you may just find it has been taken away in the night, for the mind could not allow it to survive.
Elysium, thank you so much. That was fierce, fantastic. Okay. Next up, it's a great pleasure to welcome Nico Moore, who is the current Kenosha County Poet Laureate. Born in Racine and raised in Kenosha, Nico, who also goes by the name Speak Free, is a poet, spoken word artist, hip-hop artist, musician, fashion designer, and educator who studied theater at UW Parkside and Columbia College, Chicago. As a teenager, Nico began writing poetry as a way of healing and processing the world. Poems became spoken word, and spoken word became songs, and songs became mantras and prayers. He has spent the last 20 years of his life using these creative expressions as connection points for community engagement, education, personal growth, and healing, and as a foundation to build a life upon. Nico, thank you so much for being here, and welcome.
Gratitude. Can y'all hear me over there? Yeah? Oh, there we go. That one. Sweet. I didn't prepare a set list. We're gonna feel the vibe. So what I'm feeling right now is music is love. Music is life. Music is love, music is life. Music is an expression of the soul made to penetrate out to the universe as a whole and enter into the mind, to be there to be shared at any time and any place. Music can fill any space, in the day or the night, in the dark or the light. Music can be seen without sight. Music is love and music is life. To me, music frees. It's the sound of the wind blowing through the trees, the pattern of a butterfly's wings. Tune into nature, you can hear freedom ring. I've seen people personally dance and groove when they walk. Some people spit out rhymes on accident when they talk. To me, music has the concept of time on lock, 'cause I can zone out the whole world off a simple TikTok. I can be anywhere alone on this earth with music in my headphones. I feel like I'm at home, free in my dome. I live my life off the music I write. Music to me is an angel serving love, connected with the energy from the heavens above, and life is a rhythm, just one connected beat. So to every person I meet, I say, Let's groove to the rhythm of our hearts. Get together and move for the world and play our parts. I live to groove with you to the vibration of the stars. Let's get together, change the world by expressing art. Let's groove. 'Cause music is love, music is life. That's that piece. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Can you give me like a cue when my time is like getting close to time? Cool, appreciate you. I'll admit, life is far from picture perfect. But when you look beneath the surface, it all shows to be worth it. Everything happens for its own specific reasons. People grow just like plants and change just like seasons. I'm believing if the sun wasn't shining or even beaming, nothing on this earth to be living or even breathing. So I must thank love for everything that I'm seeing on this beautiful planet I call home. It's so amazing what we can do with the brain that's in our domes. We have to heal this planet. The children can't wait. First, we have to separate the real from the fake. Fill ourselves with love by understanding their hates. Some people in money may need to take a break because the love affair has gone on way too long, and it's the reason that greed and hunger have grown way too strong. If we're gonna be a part of this change that's going on, we gotta look inside ourselves and find that love song. I feel it's way past time for the spiritual evolution. We as people are the problem. We have to be the solution. Let's take a step back and look at what we're doing and fix all the things that we have ruined. Our creative minds have been consumed with consuming, and soon there will be nothing left to take. This is my song. Oh, but it's also my prayer. Love, open our hearts so peace can live there. So peace can live there. This is my song. It's never about me. It's always about the art. The art has a life beyond my life's end and start. I shoot from the heart. When I'm approaching a song, got spiritually strong from approaching this life thing wrong. Now I'm floating over all the small things I used to trip on. Inspired by life, even though sometimes it gets crazy. I'm on this meditate daily, then continue till the night is done. Look into love's eyes, the moon and the sun. Go back into the time before religion had begun and find a way to reconnect the world before the end can come. I'm a dreamer, determined to stay woke. Just know this starving artist refuses to stay broke. This is that new hip hop. I'm connecting with a divine feeling. I call it hip hop for healing. And I'm sending out peace as far as the third eye can see. I'm living my life to be the dopest version of me. And that's that piece. All right, this one's heavy. A trigger warning. Yeah. New world. Nothing like my home. I had a family, a belief system. Endless land to roam. Now I'm here. Lost, confused, and alone. Just moons ago, I was my own man. Now I am owned. Another man's property. Beaten or even hung if I don't conform properly. Why put me in these chains? Why brand me over open flames? Why is it necessary to strip me of my name? Not allowed to stand tall. To them, we are uncivilized animals, and their scriptures justified it all. So much death, it took work just to breathe. Forced to serve, to sacrifice, to believe. How was any of this from God? I could not conceive. I would not achieve the level of fear I would need to survive. So I fought and I worked to be free till I was beaten, hung, and burned alive. But one piece of hope and wisdom was illuminated by the flames. It said it would take generations of freedom-finding work to gain freedom from this mental, spiritual, and physical pain. Keys for the door to freedom. Keys for the door to freedom. See, I'm a key and you're a key. He's a key and she's a key. We all are keys to freedom. You see, they tried to bury us, but they were unaware that we were seeds. So we grew from rocks in hard places, determined to be freed. We collectively agreed to gain strength from pain and hurt. We will thrive because our existence is work. We work to stay on that land which we were birthed by the sun. We work to survive, and from that land we were taken from. We work to live how others were allowed to live. We work to vote and have proper education for our kids. We worked and are still working today to regain the understanding of our history that's been burned, lost, and locked away. And we must work hard to bring back those that have gone astray because it took too long for us to end up this way. Took too long for us to end up this way, to have our dreams turn into nightmares. We work too hard to be treated equal and fair. Now we must work to only the most positive, righteous work for the children to see, because it took work to get freedom for you and me. It's going to take generations of work to stay free, because I'm a key and you're a key. He's a key and she's a key. We all are keys to freedom. That's that piece. One more time. 5 minutes. Perfect. Perfect timing. So after that piece, I would like to just say, if y'all want to do a collective breath with me, can you just breathe in? Yeah, audible. Yeah, it's helpful. I know we're all seeing a lot and going on in this world, and we're all dealing with a lot. We're all witnessing and feeling collective pain and fear, and so we just breathe in and hold at the top and release. Breathe in and breathe out. I like to add some intention to it. I like to breathe in love and breathe out fear. Breathing in love and breathing out fear. But fear must have its say. And fear says, I'm often confused with hate, especially when it comes to violent crimes. I can paralyze your body when I take over your mind to survive. It's love I need to steal. I can make false evidence appear real, make you sacrifice your happiness for illusion of a good deal, make you feel pain, then forget how to heal. Helpless human, hopelessly controlled by me. I give you two choices, at least two choices you can see. As long as you fight or run, you will never be free. They say I'm second to love. Look at this world, I disagree. I know I'm not the voice that you truly want to hear, but you cannot shut me out. I'm your faithful friend, Fear. I will show you things love is way too blind to see. All you have to do is agree to follow me. So I say, breathe out fear and breathe in love. Breathe out fear and breathe in love. Breathe out fear, breathe in love. And listen to love when love says, I am far from blind. In fact, there's nothing I can't see. I transform every being that believes in me. I help you become what you dream to be. The most priceless resource, and I am free. Every living thing would agree it's not money that makes the world go round, it's really me. I am the dirt, the seed, then I become the tree. I'm the process that recycles life when it's time to die. I'm the caterpillar, the cocoon, the butterfly. To find me, you can look low or you can look high, but most of the time I reside inside. I am the spirit of forever, the setting of the sun, the rising of the tide. My goal is to overcome all fear. Help the living to become more alive, create below the flow that exists above the purest of all energy. And I am love. You are love. This is love. Last thing love says is, don't complicate your mind. You'll find that's not the way. Let intuition be a guide. Hear what your spirit has to say. Let joy grow in your heart. Let all pain fade away. And when you fear at all, remember love will conquer all. Know that love will conquer all. Yes, love will conquer all. Remember love will conquer all. 'Cause love's the highest law. That's that piece. That's that set. Gratitude to y'all. Thank you for reception. Appreciate you.
Dang, Nico, beautiful. All right, next up, grateful to have Milwaukee native Shelly Conley, who is Milwaukee's newest Poet Laureate. She has always had a love for words. Her writing is reflective, forgiving, and creates a call to action for her listeners. Shelly is a 7-time member of Milwaukee's National Poetry Slam team. Her talent has led her to numerous shows, panels, documentaries, and musical collaborations with local and national talent. She recently released Rewind, a cathartic autobiography, which I didn't mention, we have books for sale over there. A magical blend of childhood journal pages, poetry, an amazing soundtrack, and more, available at shellyconley.com. With more than 20 years of experience working with youth and young adults in various capacities, Shelly encourages individuals to be honest and introspective in their writing, to forgive themselves and others, and to operate from a space of love, especially when it's difficult. Since 2014, Shelly has served as program director and co-facilitator for My Sisters Keep Her. Please welcome Shelly Conley. Thanks for being here.
Good evening. I hope everybody's doing wonderful. I'm glad the weather participated today, unlike yesterday. Today turned out to be a beautiful day, so I'm grateful. So I'm gonna start with a poem, just really quick for perspective. I wanna always give gratitude to Dasha Kelly, who is one of our Poet Laureate Emerita, did I say that right? Okay, and her beautiful set she used to run at Mecca nightclub 25 or so years ago. So that is really where I got my courage and my footing to be able to speak publicly about things that were, oh yeah, I should have learned that from Ilysium, am I saying that right? Yeah, should have learned that the paper was gonna fly, thank you. So anyway, that was really where I got my grounding, my courage to actually get up and pour out my heart in front of strangers and people I knew. And so about 25 years ago, we had the open mic at Mecca, went off to another spot afterwards. I was with all these amazing poets, and I was like very new to reading poetry out loud to people. And so a dear friend of mine, an amazing poet, said, hey, I want you to meet so-and-so. And he introduced me to this young lady, and the first thing she said was, oh, are you a poet? And I was frozen, and I didn't really know how to react because I didn't consider myself a poet. Clearly now I'm over that. But I went home and wrote a poem about it because that's what poets do. So here's the poem. She asked, was I a poet? My mind went blank like paper without lines when she asked, was I a poet? My mind went to poetry venues, Sanchez, Giovanni, and Angelou, open mic sets, deaf poetry I'd viewed. I was confused when she asked, was I a poet? So I step back to peruse the fine print, trying to understand what defines one as a poet, because I refuse to misrepresent myself. See, on my shelf, I saw Webster define it as one who writes poems, compositions written in rhythmical form. She asked, was I a poet? Torn, my mind swarmed with thoughts of countless hours I'd spent with pen and paper. Then race to those who leave you shaken with lyrical fornication, who captivate an audience and have their ears vibrating. She asked, was I a poet? And somehow my mind went to those with vision so profound that they can explain it explicitly so that others may see it. What does it mean to be a poet? Is it those who spit lyrics that sear your heart, take a piece of their flesh and spread it on paper, causing such a deep cut that the vapors smack you in your face, bringing you back to reality? Is it those who host the poetry venues, those who post the latest poetry news, those who share the views of the poets? Is it those who sit in the crowd unnoticed, maybe those that hang with the poets? Is it those who use words so educated that the listeners dedicate hours just to devour the meaning? Is it those who write for therapy, closet writers heard only in their dreams, who love to listen but are afraid to read, not knowing how the poets will perceive them? What does it mean to be a poet? Is it those who wake up in a cold sweat, write away their fears in red ink? Is it those who pique your interest, those who rhyme the best, those who sign up on open mic lists? Is it those who open up your minds to the signs of the times? I wondered in my mind just how she defined a poet. Was it contingent upon how many words you speak in one breath? If you've won multiple contests, those who write until their death? She asked, was I a poet? And the best that I could come up with was, I love to write. Thank you. Again, shout out to Dasha Kelly. So I did prepare a set list because, I don't know, that's just how I roll. So I think I've only ever done this poem in public like once, but it's been on my heart to do it. So I'll just say this, make some noise if you have ever found yourself, let's just say, in a romantic relationship that you knew was not good for you. Yeah, okay, right, yeah, we should be way louder. Okay, exactly, okay. So this kind of takes through a journey of stages of love by age, kind of, although the ages aren't mentioned, so. We argued with question marks and exclamation points and fancy origami folded love notes. We argued with jealous streaks and childish insecurities still drenched behind our ears. We argued with sad faces, made up in musty hallways with wet kisses and promises of together forever, 'cause we were in love. We argued in haze-filled rooms with daggers strapped to our tongue, pints of Hennessy held tight. We argued dirty, bloody words dripped like sweat in fourth quarter ball games. We argued like dribble, like foul, like technical, like ejection, praying neither would ever leave. We argued to pad our confidence. We argued desperately, craving for them to crown us kings and queens we never got to be. No prom, but the ghetto built us backs of armor. We were all we had back then, ride or die. We argued heavy and deadly, all the way to the bedroom where love bloomed and the makeup was hands down more passionate than Christ's. Together forever, 'cause we were in love. We argued in gas-filled homes, fumes undetected, silence mind-shattering. We argued with nonsense. We argued monotonous over topics insignificant. We argued from boredom, argued with unfulfilled hopes and dreams deferred. We argued blaming. We argued politely. We argued strategically. We argued praying that death would break our vows together forever till it do us part. We argued with God when alone, was never them all along. We argued scared to face the truth. We argued growing up too soon. We argued with demons in our minds. We argued some days for God to simply take our lives and other days to help us make it through. We argued because we didn't know what else to do, and we thought that we were in love. Thank you. So I have, 2, maybe 3 more poems. Is that cool? Okay. So this poem is in one of the books that is over there, I think. Yep, Freeing. And I bought this used 12 speed. a couple summers ago, like off, what's that called, Marketplace on Facebook. Like I met a stranger out at the parking lot and risked my life for a $15 bike or $12 bike or whatever. So anyway, I went on this bike ride. My neighborhood is filled with hills, like everywhere. That no matter which way you go, there's like some really deep ones, right? So I went on this bike ride on this new bike that wasn't new, but it was new to me. And I wrote a poem when I was done because I just felt so free, especially riding down those hills, like kind of dangerous, but fun. So anyway, it's called Heavyweight. Freedom is 44 years of heavy, pushing weight on a $15 12-speed, cruising down dilapidated Milwaukee streets. Freedom is gleeful fans when Giannis makes a shot, breeze pushes Afro fro in two until it blows like trees toked. Riding faster downhill than I am comfortable, I pump the brakes, anticipating bending that corner, knowing change ain't always easy. Freedom is 44 years of heavy, extra weight, state of mind, inhale, exhale, move forward. Freedom is reflection of life lessons, move forward, inhale, exhale. Dodging shards of glass on the block like bullets or bee swarms, smiling at a man picking up trash, whether block pride, black pride, or paid position, his attempts are admirable. Cleansing a racist city crafted for brown skin to self-destruct. I love his narrative, want to bottle up his passion. Freedom is pausing at an elementary school playground, now barren and lifeless. Memories of childhood crush, blood rushing, blushing, recalled all the joys I felt during recess. The laughter, the games, and wondered if this whole virus scare was a pretense. Do we need to stand at attention, listen, practice defense, or speak Isaiah 54:17? Maybe all of the above and more. Past a couple walking, we spoke. His smile shone light on years of self-neglect. No judgment cast, my past ain't all pretty. Done some foul things in this city where skinny men die and mamas cry, women become victims, children are unprotected, hydration affected by lead. 90% of teachers are infected with dread, mourning every morning as they go to collect a check. These days the norms are frightening, but on this freedom ride, I'm reminded that our God is mighty. On this journey I find enlightenment, a reminder to not be conformed to my environment, instead be the light. When a stranger looks me in the eye, may they feel my warmth. Pray they know that they matter. Be reminded that peace is simply a state of mind. Choose the red pill or the blue one. You create your own truth. And freedom can indeed be found riding around town on a used 12-speed, carrying 44 years of heavy. And that math tells me it was 5 or 6 years ago, because I'll be celebrating 50 in October. Yay! So, all right, so I'm going to do 2 more pieces. Make some noise if you're familiar with the Smurfs. Even though I know they came back, I think there's a new movie, but the old Smurfs, like the, back in like the 80s or, yeah, okay, good. Okay, so I just had to make sure my audience was proper for this. This poem is called Blue Smurfs. Before I do it, I just want to acknowledge my mom. Mom, wave your hand. Mama Banks, she goes by. She's like my road dog now. She comes to everything. Some stuff she wants to come to. I'm like, Mom, it might be too hot or too whatever. But she's there, and I appreciate her, and I love her. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Cross-legged, I sit so close to the TV that I smell electricity. My mother stands there, hand on her hip, veins bulging from her neck, she says, "How many times must I tell you to back up from that TV?" It was her song chorus, because of course I never listened. See, the closer I got, the more I felt connected to my favorite characters, which in 1981 meant every Saturday morning I moved to Smurf Village, side by side with Smurfette, long thick ponytails flowing down my back next to her blonde tresses. In 1981, my Saturday mornings were filled with my mama's homemade biscuits, the concoctions of Papa Smurf, while Brainy Smurf assured me this burden of wearing glasses just meant I was smarter than the average, and blue skin gave this illusion that black and white were irrelevant. In 81, I didn't know that in the real world our skin color mattered and brown was not in season. I was naive to race relations and subliminal segregation in our projects. Untried ears couldn't hear the screams of oppressed mothers from welfare lines. See, in 81, if you were blue in the real world, it wasn't cute like those little Smurfs more, a metaphor for sadness, financial depression, suffocation, tiring fights against European colonists. It was post-war little girls being blown to shreds while praising their God, post-assassination of Malcolm and Martin, pre-Rodney King, pre-James Byrd, pre-Sean Bell. See, in 81, while I watched cartoons and ate my mama's homemade biscuits, while Rick James sang Super Freak and Michael Jackson rocked with you, an Alabama man was being preyed on for dinner, rocking in a tree like a faulty Christmas decoration. See, Michael Donald was only 19, body hanging heavy like a paraplegic, his legs slightly bent, his neck slit, his head tilted, a reflection of this crooked system. See, in 81, we still hung America's strange fruit, Billie Holiday turning in her grave. In the 21st century, our country still smudged with DNA from innocent lives. Gluttonous cops still drink the blood of our young like vampires, and cocky elitists still twist the system while America turns a blind eye to this genocide. From Rwanda to the bayou to our backyards. The only change is the weapon they formed against us. Ropes replaced by nightsticks and Glocks. You see, I'm trying to believe God when he says they won't prosper. But sometimes that feels so hard looking at the odds. Thank you. All right, I have one more poem. It's kind of I'd say it's a signature poem. I try to always do it in front of new audiences. And in front of old audiences, when I don't do it, sometimes I have to do it anyway because people expect to hear it. So it's called Sisters Separated. In the bio, it was mentioned My Sister's Keeper. It's an organization that we've been running for 11 years now. Really just two of us, although we have a great volunteer and we've had a lot of community support along the way. But 11 years for a small grassroots business run by two African-American females in the city is pretty amazing. And our work is all focused on young people, young girls specifically. And we use it as a platform to help them use writing as a tool to find their voice. So we say in every class, every school, I should say, sisterhood is love and respect for all women. Can you guys say that with me? Sisterhood is, okay, I'm like, I can't hear y'all. Let's try it. Okay. Sisterhood is love and respect for all women. Here's the piece. Sisters, we are separated. Divided out by our skin shades, our accolades, and our escapades, when really, all our hearts have been slain by some man whose love was in vain. We've all felt the same menstrual pains and even had our freshly done hair tousled in the rain, yet we can't stick together. Separated, too caught up in what she thought about this or said about that, catfights, bickering. Our lifelight is flickering just because she's blowing wind or hot air. No, we don't dare stick together. Separated, swearing she made a funny glance when she may have been admiring your pants, your stance, or perhaps you just reminded her of a past acquaintance. See, whatever it is, our sisterhood's tainted. We've got these frowning faces day to day, and we are so disrespectful as we lay our head in the bed of some other woman's man, family portrait right there on the nightstand. See, we can't stand to stick together. No, we'd rather stand back and make accusations about the women that carry themselves gracefully, like she can't just be confident. We label her conceited. Can't be proud of her accomplishments. She must be bragging, and she can't be driving that Lexus parked outside. That's got to be her man's. See, I can't understand why our sisterhood is so damaged when we all came packaged in the same afterbirth. We all share the same end of death. We all had to take baby steps before we could run, yet somehow our love for women of all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds got lost. We go to all costs to not make eye contact as we pass each other by on the streets or in the clubs, too afraid of what she might be thinking, because perhaps we haven't made peace with ourselves, so the thought of saying, hey girl, to someone else feels too strange. But can you imagine this world when we dare to be on one accord, how quick our world would soar, because our women from the beginning of times have held together our lifelines. They have guided our families and fought back through tragedies. We have carried our babies to see incarcerated daddies held schooling, working, bimbamis all at the same time. We've created meals when there was nothing in the cupboard, cried a river of tears and kept going. We have consoled our babies our fathers, and our mothers. Been crutches to so many others in our lives, and if we tried, I know we could own at least half this universe with our strong minds, our strong will, and our determination. But we seem plagued with this false sense of security, causing other women to be the enemy. We give a man more slack when he's cheating than a woman who may accidentally keep her eyes on you for more than 2 seconds. We address those fine men when they pass us by, but we refuse to look our women square in the eye and smile or nod or at least say hello. Can we just lift each other up wherever we go? Give much respect. Let's learn to protect our image and stop neglecting sisterhood. Can we just stand for the same cause? Pause on all that trivial backstabbing drama. Let's quit being baby mamas and drama queens and give honor to our strong women. Start mending this rip in our lining so that together we all can shine peacefully, freely, and in unity. Because in every single one of us, I see absolute power and beauty, but truthfully, we seem separated, like we won't dare get along. Thank you, guys.
Shelly, incredible. Thank you so much. And closing out the reading, though, stick around and think of questions you might like to ask. Thrilled to welcome current Wisconsin Poet Laureate Brenda Cárdenas, who has authored Trace, winner of the 2023 Society of Midland Authors Award for Poetry and silver winner of Foreword Review's Indie Poetry Prize, Boomerang, and 3 chapbooks. She also co-edited Resist Much, Obey Little, Inaugural Poems to the Resistance, and Between the Heart and the Land, Latina Poets in the Midwest. Her poems have been published in such venues as Poetry, Prairie Schooner, Braving the Body, and Ghost Fishing, an Eco-Justice Anthology, and Kinship in a World of Relations. Cárdenas has served as Milwaukee's Poet Laureate and is Professor Emerita of English at UW Milwaukee. You can find her at brendacárdenas.net. And Brenda, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Mike and Woodland Pattern and Juneau Park Friends, for having the Poetry in the Park. I often come and listen to others, and it's a privilege to be here. And it's so nice to see so many folks that I know and meet new people. So I think I'll just jump right in. I'm going to read maybe all except one new poems that I've written since Trace was published. So they may not be as polished, but you know, you got to start reading them somewhere, sometime, right? So this first one is called If All of History Were Stuffed in a Jar. If all of history were stuffed in a jar, could you count the antelope eyes and owl talons, the suffocating worms, moths, buffalo staining the plains? Could you divine colonizers' gauche lust for the hustle and chase, busloads of gold, their filthy blankets, their wheezing Anthropocene? Would you shake the jar, rattle its plastic potpourri, its acrylic Aurochs teeth? Could your ears have ever anticipated the blast in uranium, that the word greenhouse would evoke gas chambers, the code that conifers would create to speak with their deciduous neighbors, secret talk like drum beats? Just think, I might have watched through the mason's glass our final solar eclipse. You might have pried open the lid and stolen an amulet you thought you could use as a shield. Thank you. And this poem is called Bewitched. There's a few words in Spanish here. I don't think much. Abuela, I'm sure you all know, is grandmother. Pantalones are pants. Okay. Bewitched. Bewitched by abuela's bleat at quarter till midnight, piercing our quarantine. Bewitched by the fur growing on her chin. By the greedy king who measures us according to how silent he can keep our tongues. Bewitched by rats who ate a baby boy in a tenement of the segregated North that has always refused to see itself promised land that wasn't. Bewitched by the chorus of shame forever biting at our heels as we run barefoot down alleys through deserts. Bewitched by the borderlands in our every breath. By the ocular magic in our mal de ojo. Bewitched by wilted words whispering themselves back to life in a flourish of blood spells. Bewitched by the mermaid tails beneath our pantalones, their fins always swimming to freedom. Bewitched by the jinn who have no respect for the rich king and his false dragons. Bewitched by a sacred pyre that beckons us to story this world, then dance. Bewitched by the yeast that still rises no matter who is baking, no matter who is breaking the bread. And I don't know about you, but I've been to an awful lot of protests lately. It seems that it's becoming another job, and I've been going to them my whole life. And, you think things would get better and better, and they seem to be getting worse and worse. So this poem sort of remembers previous protests and comes up to this moment, and it's called Memoir. Once, my footloose friend was riding her bicycle downtown, scarf fluttering like a tiny kite in her wake as she followed a voice she knew was mine, pulsing through a bullhorn, all firestorm and quake. Hell hath no fury like a teacher stripped of her health insurance. Once I felt a glass building shake as my two palms among hundreds slammed its walls, business busting immigrants into shards to ship in a box. I was a messy crone, even in my youth, eyes rolling a 360 like a doll's, trying to see everywhere at once. Isn't that what it is to be a citizen? A kitchen door, a camera? Now smoking guns still smoldering in my head, I bring blankets, water, a young friend shaking her lion's mane into a roar as she glissades into the crowd, a film of all our heroes behind her eyes. This is my legacy, teeth ground down to cracking, a tool hanging from my keyring to cut the razor wire holding us back. Thank you. Thank you. So I had the great honor and privilege of reading to the inmates at San Quentin just a few months ago. And you guys are awesome. Every audience is awesome. But those men were the most fantastic audience I've ever had in my life. They were so appreciative. They were so talented because they also read. We did an open mic for them afterward. They were so alive, and I think it's something about bringing the outside in, right? That they could appreciate. And this poem is one of the poems that they loved the most, that they were hooting and hollering for. Right? So it's called "If Only a Pistol Were a Wand." If only a pistol were a wand, shooting starry magic, we could spell angry blazes into sacred languages. Become fluent in empathy, if only a pistol were a wand, waving away the pink slip, overdue electric bill, landlord screaming for the rent. If only a Beretta were a straw, we could sip a hot cup of the city with a slice of lemon, soothe sore tempers, blow spitballs instead of bullets at our nastiest teachers. If only a magnum were a hairdryer, cops could warm our rain-wet curls after curfew rather than pumping us full of so much lead that our shadows stick to the street. If only a Glock were a ping pong paddle, I would volley your split-second grit past your ear off the table, give you a chance to think before you smash the trigger. And if a revolver were a pen of obsidian, we could carve speech glyphs in silent stone, spend a century deciphering them. If only a pistol were a paintbrush, we'd swish and smudge ourselves into a rowboat at dusk, sun-spilling tangerine on purple waves. If only a weapon were a wand, we could blink ourselves to another planet. But how could we abandon this body of peril in its crumbling, frail whisper begging us to let it breathe? If only your pistol were a shovel, friend, and mine a chamber of seeds, imagine what we might grow. Okay, this is a short little strange poem, and it's called In the Understory. In the understory, acorn caps and scaly leaves, a lichen feast and buttery moss, the caraway seed fallen from a hiker's rye, quiver with every step. What you wish to document is under the bridge where the blue-black mystic pulses, and no matter how carefully they dredge the creek, they will never find your friend. But the windshield will surface in the current's surge. Beneath the story, beneath the bridge, beneath the truth's bed, nerve like a paper wasp in the brain, you steady the dowsing rod that searches not for water, but for that feckless beast eating your tongue as if it were rare meat. Beneath the grammar is a fork in the sentence that turns toward unrest. Don't tell, it barely had a pulse, but the trees fed it unfiltered oxygen, and now it breathes. Okay. So my poems are short, so I have a few left, but this one is one I rarely read because it's so confessional, so I hardly ever read it, but I'm going to read it, be brave, and read it tonight. It's called Third Eye. His kick bruised me right above the left eye, sore spot in my scene, glimpsing a steel toe. The nurse asks, did you suffer trauma to that eye? Did you ever suffer? No. I sat behind him on a snowmobile, my boots tucked on the rail behind his. I wrapped my arms around his waist and flew too fast to feel the frozen lake, to feel the wind sting in my eye. You could have captured us in a snow globe, pine forest, our plastic background. Did you ever? No. I curled up next to him in bed, slid the top of my foot beneath the soft skin of his soul, slept one eye open, his big work boots standing in the carpeted corner. I hiked with him on an island where we saw nothing but rocks and cliffs, sand flies, and our boots like stone sculptures outside our red pup tent. I rose first in the morning, gathered kindling, lit the fire and stared into its rising heat, learned how to brace for the snake bite and hatchet, the howl and fester, the mellifluous shush now, that always came after the cleave. I cleaned the storm of mud from those boots and had to have a strong sight to find each crevice. You're tending the eye that crawled to the center of my forehead. It is not blind. It watches everything. Thank you so much. And I have 3 more poems This is a little tiny one. It's called Bondage. I whistle as I wrestle my inner workhorse to the dirt, turn her head in the direction of blue herons and rain-wet phantoms of fog hovering above the pond. Look, I command, linger in the decomposing day. When she tries to plant her hooves, heave her weight on thick flanks, bony knees, and flee, I tie her to the lightning-cracked tree, the one still coughing ashes. No more musts, I say, stroke her mane, hold sackfuls of stars, and never a mule escapes through her neigh. Never a devil hoists himself on her back again. Now I can barely hear the hurt in her whinny. It is but a distant bell. Thank you. Okay. This next poem is called Mercy, and I think we've all probably done this where, I don't know if you've thought about, when I die, this is how I want to go, or this is how I want to be buried or not buried, or, these are the things I want. And I've always said to my husband, I want a green burial. Don't put me in a box. Don't put all that crap, that formaldehyde on me. Put me in the ground. Just like that, right? So this is called Mercy. Uncorset my fat suit and bury me in a chorus of strawberries, a forest haunted by cicada shells left clinging to toadstools and stones. Let bear paws mix me in a handful of honey, should bees still swarm this noxious earth. Give wolves license to muddle me like a sugary cocktail or effusive stew. No box. I beg you to strip me of this red nose, yellow-collared clown suit, and kayak me out to the aquamarine cemetery where fall cell phones and lighters, water shoes and dimes, earrings and locked chests full of secrets. Let my spent shell sup like a suckerfish on this dumpster and clean its sullied floor. Have mercy on the home we have poisoned, blue body we have boiled like the soup we are destined to become. Have mercy and add a bit of mint before you wrap me in clean linen if you must. Do not fasten my shroud, but let it flutter in the wind's whistle that carries me to the velvet ear of a dog. You better not put me in a box. Okay. Okay. This very last poem was inspired by Ross Gay. I took a workshop with Ross Gay, who's one of my very favorite poets. He made us do the thing that you always learn in school not to do. They always say, don't write about big things like God and love, right? Well, Ross said you're going to write about love. And it's also inspired by Brian Cherry. Any of you who know Brian know that he is all about love, right? That is who he is, right? So it's called Write About Love. Love the velvet touch of a petunia's black petal, of a caterpillar's spring green skin. Love the way a stranger smiles. Love the stranger, even if only as long as hibiscus opens its face to the sun. Love the table where you share a meal, the hands that pass the tortillas, la mantequilla, every bite, word, touch that feeds the family given you, the family you have chosen. Love the sauce dripping down your chin, the cook who stood at the stove and stirred patiently all day long. Love the brother sitting at the entrance of the grocery store with a sign asking for anything spare you might have to share. Love the bread and cheese and apples you will buy him. Love the jingle of your coins as you give them away. Love the palm into which they land. Love the cornflower blue and pollen gold houses who have dressed for a party that never ends. Love the backyard where you grew taller each summer as it shrunk smaller and smaller. The yard where adult you grows tomatoes and eggplant, squash and beans, peppers and sage. Love the home you have made with the one you'll never stop loving. Love that it is not a building or a room, not a roof or a basement, not the books you read there, not the art adorning walls, but each other. Love the home in each other's arms. Love the poet sitting next to you writing about love. Love the person whose politics you hate. Love him into softening like butter left out on the counter under its ceramic roof. Love the poor platypus you drew in your journal, its beak drooping like some unspeakable organ. Love the beaks of all the birds, their vessels for worms, insects' talk song. Love each coo, each trill, each caw, each whistle. Love the language you do not speak, its sound suggesting something luscious that sizzles or fizzles or sticks to the teeth, something smoky like a trombone's long-drawn blues notes flooding the street, something that glimmers like a woman in a yellow skirt dancing cumbia on cobblestone under a night sky of papel picado, its shimmer echoing her steps. Once foreign, now familiar, chew these sounds. Roll them around your tongue like a lifesaver. Love any constellations you can discern, despite the city's air pollution, light pollution. Love even more the constellations you make of each week, each year. Love time passing even when it means time's up. You must sleep, or you can sleep no longer. Love sleep that takes you far from the noise of now. Love the dream that conjures the impossible and always makes it possible. Love waking into a new day here on this bruised and battered, this gorgeous and glorious earth. Love the last line you will ever write, even though you don't know it's the last line you will ever write. Love the ones you're with. Love the ones you're with. Thank you. Thank you.
Brenda, thank you so much. And well, now if you would, I know you're walking away, but rejoin me, and then I've got some chairs, and yeah, we've got time for a few questions on this beautiful night. So give me a moment, and one more time for all the poets. Maybe I'll start, because one of the ideas for this, and thanks again, Juneau Park Friends, it's a wonderful idea that we've got some laureates together in particular, so kind of like speaking to that unique experience of holding the laureateship. And so if each of you, I don't know, perhaps might share a little bit about what that's been like so far, what your experiences have been, and then, you know, maybe everybody else can have a moment to
It's been busy. Yeah, it's a lot of running around, right? In my case, running around the state, and you go to, you know, audiences large and small, audiences in little public libraries in little towns, all the way to, you know, at some big poetry festival or something. And what's beautiful about that is that you see that there are people writing and people who love art everywhere, even in the tiniest place where you wouldn't think much exists like that. It does. They're there, right? And they're crawling out of the woodwork.
I would ditto all of that. Busy. Every time somebody asks how I'm doing, I say blessed and busy, but blessed and grateful. So everything she said, amen. And I would say, just to add to that, I don't know for state, but for city, we are required to do 5 events over the course of the 2 years. And so I am definitely maybe an overachiever or a dreamer or an idea vessel, I don't know what you call it, but I have done a lot, and I just was inaugurated in February. This was starting the feedback. Okay. Yeah, I caught it. Okay, thank you, though. And so one of my favorite things I'll say so far, in addition to everything she said, is creating spaces and going into spaces where first-time readers are comfortable doing just that. So like the first big event I did, while it showcased a lot of poets in the city, it also brought in a space for non-traditional poets or people who don't consider themselves poets to actually submit a poem. And then we did a big open mic at the East Side Library. And so I've just had a really great time watching and listening to people like myself 25 years ago who were like, no, I don't read in public, or I've never shared, being comfortable in the spaces to share. So I'll add that.
Yeah. Come on up. You deserve this seat. Yeah, for me it's been interesting. So I've been doing some traveling, and a lot of people don't know that Kenosha has a Poet Laureate program, or that to be real, that there's black people in Kenosha. I'm like, what? Yeah, so it's interesting. And I think the best part for me has been my daughter is just super excited about it all the time. Every time it's mentioned, that's been the best. Like, she's like, I'm gonna Google you. Let's see if it comes up. I'm like, oh, yeah. So that's pretty great. Shout out to Irie over there.
Okay. I am very much not a laureate.
Not yet.
Not yet. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I have to wait for the adult one because I'm not young enough anymore for the youth. But being a finalist for the Youth Poet Laureate was one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me. I don't really go out much. I don't really do stuff. I haven't really experienced anything at all. Like, at all. So when I applied, it was really just, this is my last year to be eligible. I really just wanted to try my hand at it. I wanted to not regret it in a year, 2 years, 10 years. I didn't want to regret it when, I'm old and sad and not a poet. That's not going to happen, I promise. I'll be a poet when I'm old. But just, I got the email that was like, hey, you're a finalist. And I was like, excuse me? What's happening? I literally got up off my bed because I was reading my emails on my laptop on my bed. I got up, I jumped up and down, and then I immediately regretted it because, we're on the second floor. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, neighbors. But then I got to perform, and I got to meet the actual Youth Poet Laureate. Oh my God, Angela Wang is so cool. She's the coolest woman I've ever met in my entire life. Oh my God. And then Oscar, he was also amazing. I had met him previously at Poetry Camp. I have to shout out Poetry Camp because they're going to be mad at me if I don't. And just kind of getting to be in that space, be with those people. And I think, applying for that is what got me the opportunity to perform here. I think that really helped me to kind of advance myself, to really, put things out there and keep working on making things better and improving and improving and improving until I felt confident in being here and being there and whatever I'm going to do in the future.
Thank you so much. And
when I applied for the Poet Laureateship, I never thought I'd get it, right? And then all of a sudden I got it and I went, oh, wow, now I have to do this. But it's been really lovely, yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for what you shared tonight, because each one of you had said something that really sat with me, and right now I'm thinking about how I am like a messy crone in the making. But as you were all speaking, there is something that really kind of resonated, which was you have this faith and this hope to create art, to create space for faith and hope. But you are tackling really difficult subjects. I heard the confines of religion. I heard the realities of our history. I heard the realities of our present. And I guess I'm wondering, how do you balance that so that you don't become a saddled person at home who can't make art? Maybe that's not a question. Maybe it's an observation.
Maybe it's a to-do. Maybe it's something we need to work on.
Well, I mean, I think I can't speak for the others, but maybe you'll find this to be true. I think it's that we write all different kinds of poems, right? Like, I mean, you heard a little sampling and it was whatever we chose to read today, but maybe we write poems where we go into those dark places because it's something that's weighing on you, it's just, and sometimes to write about it actually helps a lot because it kind of releases it gets it out there. But then, I mean, we also write poems about, that are joyful, right? So I think there's a balance, at least for me, because I write lots of different poems about lots of different things and in different styles.
I would just say for me, one, I agree that the release of it rather than keeping it bottled up in itself is therapeutic and healing about whatever the thing is. And I'll just give an example. Like one of my first poems that I wrote that I did publicly was about, I didn't meet my dad till I was 27 years old. And it's a really interesting story that I won't go into. But I came home from the trip where I met him and I wrote a poem. Because again, that's what we do. And it was heavy. It was emotional. Like I'm 27. I'm literally just outside of a picture that I had throughout my childhood meeting this man, right? And so when I first started doing it, when I wrote it, it was super heavy, it was super emotional. And then the more I began to do it, it's like I took the power away from the thing and it empowered me. You know what I mean? And I think it's that way with any poem that I've written about anything that's kind of a touchy or sensitive subject, is the more that I do it, the stronger my voice in it becomes, and then it becomes an empowering rather than a sad or frustrating or whatever poem. So
yeah, I think the continuing of that process, like not stopping to write, not stop writing. I'm not gonna stop, no matter how challenging the world is. I'm going to, I think use that as a way to process, as a way to alchemize what I'm feeling, what's coming through, and I'm not gonna stop doing that, because if I stop doing that, I think I will get into that space where it's like, okay, where is, so to me, the putting things out on the page, and then out to share, is, just really like puts things in perspective for me to say, where am I at? What am I doing? Where am I going? What is my purpose? And then I a lot of times I don't know, and then I get feedback and like, oh, thank you, something you said here did this, that. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you for helping me to clarify why I'm continuing to do this. And as a parent, as an educator, it's the continuous, tackling of the world, processing of the world, and the world that is being received through all the senses. Poetry is really good at that.
I think what I do is, if you ever see my notebooks, you'll be afraid a little bit. Not because I write so much, but because I have written the same thing in different ways about 100 times. Every time something happens, something that moves me, affects me, something that feels real, I'll write about it in this perspective, that perspective. I'll understand this way and that way and this way and that way until somehow I can't write about it anymore.
Yeah, you just hit. She just hit on something. You just hit on something really important. That writing is learning, right? We learn so much when we write something, about ourselves, about others, about whatever it is we're writing about language, right? Because some poems, for me, don't start with a subject or a theme. They start with language. They start with a phrase, and the rhythms of that phrase, or the fresh image in that phrase, right, is what ends up driving the whole rest of the poem. And I don't even know what the poem is going to be about until I've finished it, until it tells me this is what I'm going to be about, right? Yeah.
Another question over here. Hold on. Give me a moment.
You don't have to run. I have a big mouth. Brenda, this is for you. By the way, my name is Brenda also.
Oh, I would say Mitokaya.
For you. You were originally Milwaukee Poet Laureate. You are now Wisconsin State Poet Laureate. What are the differences in the challenges that you want to meet, and how did you make it work?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. The differences and the challenges. I think, I was very, very busy, just like Shelly is now. When I was the Milwaukee Poet Laureate too, the big difference that I see is that I have to travel further now, because somebody asks me to do a reading in River Falls, right? And I'm like, if I can do it, if I have that date free, I'm like, yes, because my job, even though we really don't get paid much money, it's very, very little bit of money, but my job is to be an ambassador for poetry in the state. So if there's any way I can do it, I say yes, right? But I was driving way to River Falls, and it was like 6 hours or something to get there, and I thought, dummy, when they asked you to do this reading, you should have said, give me a week, and you should have put together other readings in the vicinity along the way, right? So that you're not making that trip just for that one, so I learned that, right? And now I will, in the future, I will do that when I'm asked to do one that's a long way away. So it's like, traveling further. I don't know, maybe there's more conferences because there's, big, like, state, Wisconsin Writers Association I'm doing, and the Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets, So, but I did a lot of things as the Milwaukee Laureate too. I remember reading to, like, one day to a grade school, and the next day to a bunch of lawyers who wanted me to come and read at their luncheon. And the lawyers didn't offer to pay me anything, right? The school, the poor school that didn't have any money, was trying to scrape together money, and I was like, that's okay, you don't have to pay me. And then the lawyers didn't even offer, so that tells you something, right? But anyway, yeah, I mean, it was like you're describing it, Shelly. And how do you make it work? I think learning tricks, like I was just saying. Okay, if you're gonna have to go far, put a bunch of gigs, visit a bunch of places in that area. My husband would say, don't say yes to everything, because I retired from my full-time job right before I got this. Like, I was retired for 5 months or something, and then I got this, and he just looks at me and is like, you're never really gonna retire. I know you're never really gonna retire, right? But I guess, sometimes you have to weigh it. You have to pick and choose, because you have to take care of yourself too. So you can't necessarily say yes to everything. Yeah. Does that answer?
It
Yeah.
does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that goes for the city laureate too.
So
Take care of yourself.
No, I was just gonna say. So I've talked to a few friends randomly, and who have said, so I didn't know this. They're like, yeah, I talked to your mom, and her and I were talking about how you just need to make sure you take care of yourself and don't try to do everything yourself. So behind the scenes and now in the front, I've been given that message, and I would just like to say I'm very grateful that in this space in my life, just in the last couple of years, I've learned to ask for help, and I've learned to be so grateful and aware of the circle that I'm surrounded with. Some of them love doing things that I'm either not gifted in doing or don't love doing. And they're like, let me do it. I'm like, yeah, okay, got it. So just, relying on the village is helpful, even in the city space. So.
It's a real gift too, because you meet so many awesome people, right? You get to meet people at everything you go to, and I don't think a whole lot of rotten people come out to poetry readings. You know what I mean? Usually they're pretty decent people, right? So, that's one of the big blessings of it, or gifts.
I don't know. I just want to.
Well, thank you all so much for those wonderful insights, for your incredible readings. One more time for Ilysium, Nico, Brenda, Shelly. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you. We'll see you again August 12th at 6 p.m. if you want to go on a historic walk around the park. That would be great. Or am I saying that right? Yeah, I don't know. You travel through time. It's an historical, But yeah, a walk around the park, a tour at 6, and then the reading at 6:30. Again, that's Ian Izzard, Nat Bowden, Dawn Teft, and Tacey Atsity. And thank you, of course, to Juneau Park Friends.
And sponsor a poet.
Oh yes, and sponsor a poet and books at the table. Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you so much.